Good YouTube, Quinn Wade coming to y'all with that rundown on the whole NBA and all the teams and some of the hottest topics. And we're going to start with the Cleveland Cavaliers because they're the number one team still in the Eastern Conference. They 6-4 in their last 10. That's been their lowest the whole season. They just came off a 3-game losing streak. Now they on a 3-game winning streak. They still been blowing out teams by plus 10 in differential and points. They're 8-1 in their division, 26-6 in the conference. They're 16-6 away from home and 23-3 at home. Just a very smart team and have so many ways to attack you inside out, slashing, relocating, and just going out there and putting on shows and clinics on teams. They came back to earth a little bit and showed that they're beatable, showing that teams are adjusting and teams are preparing for them. And they threw some different things at them. They attacked them in different ways. And Cleveland just got caught off guard some of these games. And some games the team just was hot enough to stay hot throughout the entire game and was able to beat them. And Cleveland has lost to some of the better teams in the league, even in the conference. So teams don't fear Cleveland. Teams still feel like they have a good chance if it's a 4-game win total in the playoffs or a 7-game series, you can say it that way too, that they can still possibly beat Cleveland in the series. And if I'm a Cleveland fan, I feel that we can win a championship this year. The way we have played, the success we have had, and the fact that nobody really can blow us out either shows you that Cleveland is one of the most consistent teams in the NBA this season. The Boston Celtics, they go 6-4 too, just like the Cavaliers. They on a win streak. They won 2 in a row. They play today. As a recording of this video, they got a plus 8.9 point differential. They're 24-9 in the conference, 5-2 in the division, 18-6 away from home, and 16-9 at home. Still has one of the better records in the entire NBA. They have failed very far from where they was last year, especially around this time. People thought the Celtics was going to be good enough to possibly touch 70 games. That's not reality. That's not a possibility anymore. And the Celtics have had trouble with their three-point shooting. Jaylen Brown and Tatum hasn't really been having crazy dominant games lately. Porzingis has looked good, and they have found good ways to use him in the offense, and he's still bringing it a little bit defensively. Jrue Holiday hasn't really been doing too much offensively. And Derrick White has been hit or miss from the three-point line. That's the most ways he scored outside of getting to the basket from time to time. The Celtics look like teams know what they're trying to do. They know how to come to play against them. And teams feel like they're just as good as the Celtics. Even though the Celtics have won a lot of close games and a lot of tight games, and they still figuring out how to get it done, and their record still is very, very good for this point of the season. Don't sleep on the Celtics. We're doing a lot of things wrong. We're not really having a mentality every night. We're not getting up for games like we used to. Seems like we lost a little bit of our hunger on the defensive end, and we're settling a little bit too much on the offensive end. And that's been the nightmare of the Celtics, just beating themselves. They're getting too much in their own head, and they're not playing enough team basketball like the Cavaliers and the Thunder from time to time. And that's been our Achilles heel. The New York Knicks, coming off a loss to the Lakers as recording of this video, they're 7-3 in their last 10. Just was on a 5-game win streak before losing. They got a plus 6.5 point differential. They're 22-10 in the conference. They're 8-1 in the division. They're 15-8 away from home and 17-9 at home. They're 7.5 games back of the Cavaliers. It looks like they're going to be locked into that 3rd seed, and they thought they would be one of the better teams in the NBA. And record-wise, they are. Towns and Brunson has been unmatched. We don't really know what happened to OG Anunoby just yet. That could be a big blow for this team. Josh Hart looks like the heart of the team, no pun intended. And Mikal Bridges has stepped it up a little bit defensively and been able to be shooting better from the perimeter. they look like a legitimate team in the East, but they still be losing to some suspect teams. And they do lose suspectly sometimes too. They look like a team that you can just flat out outplay sometimes, and that's not something you want to see if you think that they can win a championship. But it's some truth to it. And the Knicks, it's good to see basketball being great in New York again. It's good to see how much happy the fans are around this team. They took a gamble on Jalen Brunson. He took less money to get a good team around him. And that's what they have now. And we're going to see how they continue to go throughout the season. They can defend a little bit. They can really score. They're tough to defend. And they really do enjoy and love playing with each other. And you can see that when they go out there and play their games. The Indiana Pacers is a team that you don't really hear that much about. A lot of that has to do with that they're in the Eastern Conference. But they're 27-20. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They won 3 in a row. They only have a 1.1 plus differential. They're 17-15 in the conference, and they're 6-4 in the division, 12-12 away from home, and 14-7 at home. They have been one of the better Eastern Conference teams lately, as they didn't get off to the greatest start. And they just found their mojo again. They know how to use Siakam. They know that Miles Turner has been stepping it up. Tyrese doesn't look like his former self, but he's still a good floor general and has a good IQ of how to find his teammates and how to make shots, even in clutch moments. And they also have Benedict Mathurin, who can do a little bit more like he was showing earlier in the season. Kind of became more of a role player type of player again, but it's still fun to see him starting. I think that was the right move. That really changed a lot of things for this team. They're athletic, they're mobile, and they can really score the basketball. So we're going to see what they do, because they're scoring 116.2 points per game. So they're winning games, and they remind me of the Milwaukee Bucks, who got off to a bad start too, but they have really found their groove lately. Their record don't show it because they're 26-20. They're only 6 games above 500, but that's better than where they were before. They're 16-7 at Pfizer Forum, 9-13 away from there. They're 6-5 in their division, 21-15 in the conference. You would take that record by honestly, and they're also a team that lost 2 in a row. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games, and they have a 2.5 plus differential. So I like what I've been seeing out of the Milwaukee Bucks. I know sometimes you're like, man, the Bucks got enough talent. They shouldn't be losing this game, or they should be beating this team. But as long as they got Giannis, they have a chance to win. He's just that dominant. He's just that consistent. He's just that good. And he's just still a decent defensive player. And Brook Lopez is still a good defensive player to pair with them at this point of their career. And then Dame is a closer. He's a scorer. He's going to find guys. They have guys like Bobby Porter and Middleton that can knock down shots. Gary Trent been decent off the bench. Taurean Prince has been a good three-point shooter for them if they collapse the defense, and he's a good kick-out guy because he's always ready to let that thing go. They have a lot of good things going for them right now. We're going to see if they can continue to pile up wins, or are they going to be a mediocre-like team, and that's the purpose of the 5th and the 6th seed, because the Heat are only 24-23. They're 1 game above 500, but at least they're able to do it, and they've been doing it basically without Jimmy Butler lately, but they're 4-6 in their last 10 games, and they did win the last one. They are a team that's 5-3 in their division and 13-13 in the conference. That's supposed to be the easier one. They're 11-13 away from home. They're 12-10 at home. The Heat has found something new with Tyler Hero. He's really having his best season and been nominated as an All-Star this year, and that's his reward. And he's been facilitating at a good level too, not just scoring. Their bench, Jovic has been playing good. Jaime has been playing good. Khalil Ware has been coming on strong with his rebounds and his rim protection and his scoring. Bam just hit a game winner that they needed for them to get another win. They're still having fun with each other. They still trusting in each other. And it's just a good look for them, even though they have not had the greatest season. It hasn't really been a great team. They have been a good team. And sometimes that's all you really need to be. To attract other talent or to show that you're resilient. The Detroit Pistons, they're the 7th seed. They believe that they can get a top 6 seed before the season is over. And honestly, they only one game away from making that true. But you have to keep on winning if you want to lock up that spot. And we'll see if they're able to do it, because they have been 5-5 in their last 10 games. They did win their last one. They're 16-18 in their conference, 1-8 in their division. They're 13-13 away from home and 11-11 at home. They're the definition of mediocrity when it comes to record and performance against certain teams. One minute they look like they're the next coming of a great team. Next team, they're still losing games that they should win, or they losing games that's close, or they trying to find a way to beat a team and ended up doing it out of nowhere. You don't really know where to go with the Pistons team just yet. I think they need another piece to increase their chances of being a playoff team. Some people think they should go all in on it. Some people think that they should wait and just wait to the offseason. They added some good additions in Malik Beasley, Tobias, and Tim Hardaway Jr. to give this team floor spacing and a little bit of leadership. I think it has worked. This is better than what we would have thought that the Pistons would be this year. And they already the biggest surprise of the Eastern Conference, and they're legit. I got to give them credit on that. They're winning real games this year. Orlando Magic has fallen from grace so far. They have lost their last 3 games. They're 2-8 in their last 10 games. And yes, Franz is back. Yes, Paulo is back, but they haven't been able to get back to winning. They're 20-15 in the conference, 5-2 in the division. They're 9-17 away from home, and they're 15-9 at home. Paulo has looked a little slower. His jump shot hasn't been as money as it was before he got injured. Franz has been playing very good still since he came back from his injury. Remember, Mo Wagner is out for the rest of the season, which is unfortunate. And, they have been getting bullied a little bit in the paint, and teams have been able to shoot real good against them lately. You would like them to tighten up their defense a lot better and let Paulo slowly get back to his dominant self that he was showing this year. And if they do that and Franz continue to play, make, and score, and guys like Jalen Suggs can stay healthier longer, they're going to be in a chance to be able to reverse some of these losses and be able to have a better record by the end of the season. That's all you can hope for if you're an Orlando fan, because they have been a team that has been good even with guys missing, but the NBA is so tough to win that they still haven't been able to win some of these close games and some of these tough games. But, you still got 30-plus games to go to be able to still be above 500 and get back into that top 6 of the Eastern Conference. The Atlanta Hawks, they got too many injuries. Clint Capella, Jalen Johnson, they have lost their last 8, and they also are 2-8 in their last 10. They're 15-3 in the conference. They're 4-2 in the division, 11-15 away from home, and 11-11 at home. They're 22-27. There's nothing much I can say besides this team goes as far as Trae Young can take them. And Trae Young has been balling lately, and it still hasn't resulted into wins. And there's nothing I can really say about them. They're just finding ways to go out there and compete and not make excuses. They're on death row. They don't have enough to compete right now and still win games. They have had major blows to their roster. And even though Trae Young is still healthy, we know he's not the greatest defensive player. We know they're not the greatest shooting team. They're not the greatest defensive team. They're just a mismatched team. And it was working a little bit, and then it started falling apart. They picking the wrong time of the season to get injured as we getting closer to the end of the season. And it's sad for the Hawks right now. Chicago Bulls, they're 21-28. They have been an unsung team because they're 3-7 in the last 10, but they always can be a team that you say we got to play them next, and they're going to bring it, and you're going to have to beat them, because if you don't, they're going to beat you. That's the type of team they have been all season. They're 16 and 17 in the conference. They're 3 and 6 in the division, but they're 12 and 12 away from home and 9 and 16 at home. They're just a team that has good pieces, has good scoring, and really plays spotty basketball defensively, and it still makes them a tough team to beat. And that's something that I have noticed from them. Got respect for the Bulls. They not making excuses either, and they're going out there playing with what they have and making the best out of it. The Philadelphia 76ers, they've been winning a lot more, but not enough because they still losing more than they're winning. They're 4 and 6 in their last 10, but the teams ahead of them been losing too a lot, about the same pace. They're 14 and 14 in the conference, 3 and 3 in the division, 10 and 14 away from home, 9 and 14 at home. They're 19 and 28 record wise, and this has been a disaster season because Paul George has gotten injured again, and Joel Embiid is still out with the knee swelling. He's supposed to be coming back, but it just looks like their season is already over. And if Joel Embiid comes back, he's still not going to play the back-to-backs. Those games that's going to mostly be marked up as losses, most likely. And that's the bad direction of this team because they're only going to be getting older. And that's the problem, is that some of their players are already old. And even though they're good role players, if you don't have stars, they don't really play that well. They've been playing good enough to be respectable in some games, but they're still losing. The goal is to win games, not give the greatest competition, because if you ain't winning them, you're kind of wasting your time in the NBA, and a lot of people would agree with that. The Brooklyn Nets are 16 and 33. They basically threw away their season, just like the Raptors, just like the Hornets, and just like the Wizards. All these teams are at the bottom for a reason, and the organization doesn't really care if they're healthy or not. They're trying to get lottery picks. The Wizards are a team that has been very, very bad. They was on a double-digit losing streak, and they finally was able to finish that off by beating the Minnesota Timberwolves. And they won that game, and they're 1 and 9 in their last 10, 5 and 20 in the conference, 4 and 3 in the division. They're 2 and 21 away from home, 5 and 19 at home. They're 7 and 41. Charlotte, they're 12 and 34. They 8 and 18 at home, 4 and 16 away from home. 0 and 8 in the division and 7 to 25 in the conference. LaMelo Ball has been missing games. Brandon Miller is out for the season. Mark Williams has been in and out of the lineup. There's just bad luck and just bad fortune for the Hornets. They lost their last 4. They're 4 and 6 in their last 10. The Raptors, they have not been able to keep their lineup healthy either, so we don't really know how good the Quickly, RJ, and Scotty and Jakob Poeltl team is going to be, because they're always out of the lineup or they never get a chance to play with each other for a long period of time, which has been bad for this organization and this team. And we're going to see what they get in the draft, because they're 15 and 33. They're basically not going to make the playoffs. They're 11 and 14 at home, 4 and 19 away from home, 3 and 6 in the division. They're 10 and 22 in the conference, which is terrible. And they're 7 and 3 in their last 10, but they lost their last game. And the Brooklyn Nets, they're 3 and 7 in their last 10. They won 2. They're 8 and 22 in the conference, 1 and 8 in the division, 11 and 17 away from home, and 5 and 16 at home. And then we look at the Western Conference, the Western Conference. The Oklahoma City Thunder are 38-9. They're competing for the number one team in the NBA against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are a little bit ahead of them because they played more games than the Thunder, but it will even out at the end of the season. The Thunder are 7 and 3 in their last 10. They're 22 and 8 in the conference, 7 and 1 in the division, 17 and 6 away from home, and 20 and 3 at home. They've been masterful this year, just really relying a lot on Shea and Jalen Williams to create the offense. Hartenstein has really been a good insurance policy on Chet Holmgren, and he's supposed to be on his way possibly back. We know how good of a rim protector Chet is. We know how good of a defender he is. He gives them a screen setter. He gives them a better roll threat, a better finisher at the basket. And if they want to go big against certain teams that do, like the Jazz or something, they can always do that too. And that also just makes this team more tougher to guard and prepare for, because you already can't stop them now, and they're already competing hard defensively, and they already bought into a winning culture. Now we're just going to see how they end this season. Can they finish number one and have home court throughout the entire playoffs, or will they just be a little short because they just lose it to Cleveland? It's really just them two going for it at this point. And this month, right now, is Cleveland as the number one team in the NBA. And we'll see if the Thunder can be able to stop losing like the Cleveland Cavaliers been losing too. But somebody got to go back on a long win streak to run away with this number one seed. And they have had it through this year, both teams. But as of lately, teams been getting the best of them. But the Thunder, they have had still a great season, probably the best season in franchise history is what they're aiming for. We'll see if they get it. The Houston Rockets, 32-16, they have really surprised a lot of people. Even though they was 500 this year, nobody expected them to be this dominant, and they still have a lot of problems. They still have problems trusting Jalen Green to be their takeover guy and a perfect complementary player for Alperen Sengun, as they have their inside-outside play with the screens and him scoring on the perimeter and getting to the basket, and Sengun scoring in the post down low and sometimes hitting perimeter shots too. But their role players have stepped up. Amen Thompson has been good defensively. He's been smart shot selection-wise. Offensively, Cam Whitmore has been good. Jabari Smith is out, and they're still playing great without him. It just shows how much depth this team has. Aaron Holiday has been decent for them too. I can go on and on of how proud I am of the Houston Rockets, but they lost their last two games. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They're 19-10 in the conference, 9-2 in the division, 17-7 away from home, 15-8 at home, and they're 6.5 games back from the Thunder. I think they need to continue to go on like this because they are just that good. The Rockets are real. But the Memphis Grizzlies has the same record as the Houston Rockets, but the Rockets do own the tiebreaker. But Memphis is 8-2 in their last 10. They won their last game. They're 18-12 in the conference, 7-4 in the division, 12-11 away from home, 20-5 at home. They have a +7 in point differential, which is one of the best in the league. But Memphis has had a lot of different lineups that they've been throwing out there. Ja Morant been in and out. Jaren Jackson been in and out. He's been their best player this year, and he got rewarded with an all-star appearance. Sengun, congratulations to him for making the all-star team too. Congratulations to Jalen Williams for making the all-star team also as first-time all-star players. But Memphis has brought it defensively. They have been one of the teams that relies on their rookies. They have brought defensive rookies in like Edey, like Jalen Wills, and they also can score the basketball too. So they have two-way young players, plus most of their team is young, but they play so mature. They still do have fun, and they just go out there and compete to the best of their ability, and that's why they're a tough team to beat this season. The Denver Nuggets, not that far behind. They're 30-19. They're 17-12 in the conference, 4-4 in the division, 6-11 away from home, 14-8 at home. They also have a +4 in point differential. They won their last two in the NBA. They're 6-4 in the last 10 games. Jokic. As long as you have Jokic, you have a chance. And Jokic, I stand. And Jokic, I believe. He's just that good, finishing around the basket, getting his teammates easy shots, rebounding the ball, offensively and defensively, dominating offensively. And his teammates have stepped up. Aaron Gordon has played great defense, has scored well. Michael Porter is scoring great offensively, being a good complementary piece to this team. Russell Westbrook has been a hidden gem with his scoring, his rebounding, and his facilitating. And him and Jokic have been a good pair together. And Jamal Murray has brought it a lot more lately offensively. Still hasn't had the most efficient season, but he's at least he's scoring more often now than he was at the start of the season. And a result of that, they've been winning more games. The Los Angeles Lakers, I don't really want to talk too much because their team is going to be totally different because of the Luka Doncic trade. We don't know what they're going to do before the deadline is over. We didn't even think they was going to be trading AD this season, and it ended up happening overnight. So I'm just going to skip over them and say they're 28-19. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They won their last 2 games. It looks like they're going to be a lock for the playoffs. We don't really know what they're going to do with their roster, but they're going to have a hard fall to be able not to make the playoffs based off how they've been winning this season. And the Clippers, they just welcomed back Kawhi Leonard last month, and he has been good so far defensively, and he hasn't really gotten away of anything that they've been doing successfully since he's been out. He's just been able to fit like a glove, shooting threes, shooting mid ranges, getting out in transition and getting easy baskets, and turning down shots to let Norman Powell cook and allow James Harden to be himself. They're 28-20. They're 17-17 in the conference, 6-3 in the division, 11-12 away from home, 17-8 at home, and they also are 7-3 in their last 10. They won their last 2 games. It's a veteran team that understands how to win games, how to put themselves in position to win games, and how to close out the game with wins. And they have done that basically the entire season. Nobody thought the Clippers was going to be this good, especially because majority of the season they didn't have Kawhi Leonard, and they still was able to hold a playoff spot. That's very impressive. Minnesota Timberwolves, 27-22. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They +3 in point differential. They're 4-3 in the division, 20-13 in the conference, 15-11 away from home, 12-11 at home. I like what I've been seeing from the Timberwolves a little bit. Anthony Edwards has been scoring. He has been one of the toughest players to guard, that they throw in double teams to make his life very difficult, but he has responded and allowed his teammates to make the right decision and the right plays while still being able to score a ton of points in that offense. And Rudy Gobert has looked bad offensively, but they still allowing him to start because they don't really have a better option. Mike Conley looks a little old, but he still looks good enough to be a starter sometimes, and they need floor spacing, and he's a good enough floor spacer and decision maker, so it makes sense. And the dual Julius Randle fit hasn't been perfect, but at least he can give them buckets, and he can be an okay rebounder sometimes too. And other than that, Naz Reid still looks good. Rob Dillingham looks good as a rookie some games, and that's all you can really count on him because he is a rookie, and sometimes he plays and sometimes he doesn't. But you don't really rely on rookies to win you games that much, especially when you have a veteran lineup like they do. And it was just unfortunate that Dante DiVincenzo went out with an injury when he was just starting for a couple weeks, and they thought that he would be the piece that they needed to help contribute to winning. The Dallas Mavericks, I don't want to talk too much about this team because they haven't really acclimated Anthony Davis yet in Max Christie, I believe. They're 26-23. They're still above 500 by 3 games. They're 4-6 in their last 10. Klay Thompson hasn't been the ideal fit. Derek Lively went out too, and they're 19-17 in the conference, 5-4 in the division, 12-13 away from home, 14-10 at home. They just been an okay team because of the injuries, but they're still a team that can get it done if you play around with them, and they can be a hard team to close out. That's respectable, and they still above 500, so you got to give them their credit. The Phoenix Suns are slowly climbing back up, but they lost their last game. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They're 16-12 in the conference, 7-4 in the division, 10-14 away from home, 15-9 at home. They have a negative plus minus, which means they're barely winning their games. It's been like that at the start of the season. They have had injuries to Booker, injuries to KD, and Bradley Beal missed a little bit of time, but now they're coming on strong as a team. They're scoring. They're making moves to get Nick Richards. Tyus Jones is playing a more aggressive role, not just being so passive. I think that's for the betterment of the team, and Grayson Allen has been a good pickup for them off the bench, and I like what I see out of Royce Neal from time to time, and we're going to see if they're going to be able to get back their playoff spot by the end of the year. But as long as they're in the playoff playing tournament, they still have a chance to even knock off one of these teams and take their spot even in that tournament if it happens. But you still want to be the 6th seed or higher to be safe from that, especially because they're an older veteran team and they don't really want to be playing all those games to go against OKC or the Rockets, even though they do match up with those teams fairly well. But I think the Oklahoma Thunder would love to play the Phoenix Suns to get some revenge on KD, because a lot of people have OKC coming out the West, and to beat Kevin Durant in the first round and get back to the finals and have a chance to win the championship will be a crazy way to start a playoff run. The Sacramento Kings, they got their butts back to 500. They're 5-5 in their last 10 because they lost their last two. They're 15-16 in the conference, 4-6 in the division, 11-12 away from home, 13-12 at home. They're plus 1.2 and plus in differential, which means they outscoring their opponents. They brought DeMar DeRozan here, and De'Aaron Fox hasn't really been playing that great lately. Sabonis has been a beast offensively and on the boards. Keegan Murray has looked better lately. Malik Monk has really been a great addition to that starting lineup. It's hard to stop this team. They're a tough team to stop from scoring, but they ain't the greatest defensive team, and you can light this team up. And that's been one of the toughest reasons to believe in them this year, but they still find themselves in the play-in conversation. The only problem is Golden State is also 24-24. They're 5-5 in their last 10, and they lost their last game. They're 17-16 in the conference, 1-9 in the division, 10-11 away from home, 14-13 at home. And man, the Golden State Warriors have really been Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. One minute they look like they are the best team in the league. Next minute they look like they can't even be the Jazz. The next minute they look like they're better than Oklahoma City offensively. And then the next game they can't even make a layup or a three. That's how crazy it has been watching the Warriors games. And Steph hasn't been the Steph that you need him to be. You need him to be better offensively. You need him to dominate games. And he has done it throughout this season, but he hasn't done it enough. Andrew Wiggins has picked it up lately, but you needed him to do that throughout the entire season. And Buddy Hield has gone cold. You need him to play like he was playing in the beginning of the season. And even then, they were still barely winning games. That's how much of the talent they have lost over the last couple years since they won a championship. But they're still a good team. San Antonio Spurs, 21-25, the Wemby Demby team. They're 13-12 at home, 7-12 away from home, 2-6 from the division, 6-17 in the conference. One loss for them. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games. They couldn't do that. If they want to get back to 500, they have to stay healthy and they have to play smart basketball, because Wemby is still learning and growing as an offensive player. He's still relying a lot on the three-point shot too, which is the toughest shot of the game, because he's shooting his at the top of the key and he's shooting a couple inches back from the top of the key. On top of that, they look beautiful and good when they're going in, but when they're not, a lot of them games, they're losing. In the last game they played, they got beat by a Bam game winner, which is unfortunate, but it happens. But they got to play better defensively too. They're young, they're mobile, they're athletic, they have good pieces around Wemby, and we're going to see how good they're going to be next month too. So to be continued on the Spurs. They have a chance to still be able to be a play-in or a playoff team, and I'm not giving up on that idea just yet. The Portland Trailblazers, they're 20-29. I know Chauncey Billups is happy right now because they're 7-3 in their last 10, and they won 3 in a row lately. They're 12-24 in the conference, 4-5 in the division, 8-16 away from home, and they're 12-13 at home. They ain't really dominating teams. They're not blowing out teams like that, but they're showing you that we're going to go out there and compete, whether we're supposed to be the favorites or not. DeAndre Ayton has helped them with the boards and scoring inside. Scoot Henderson has been looking a lot better offensively with his perimeter shot and his playmaking. They have been doing well with Anthony Simons, who's been making threes and making some tough shots. Shaedon Sharpe has been looking good too throughout this season, and they do have a lot of talent. The Jeremy Grants and those guys, they still are bought into this team. And if you kind of have to get rid of them because they still believe that this team can turn it around. And if they don't do it this year, maybe another pick in a decent free agency splash, they can be a playoff team right again just next year. So we have to keep an eye on that. And then the Pelicans, nothing to say, but they've been injury riddled. They lost their last 5 straight. They're 4-6 in their last 10. 1 minute Zion's healthy, then he's back out the lineup. He's not going to play back to backs. That's unfortunate because they need as many wins as they can get. But his health should come first, and it always has anyway. Then DeJounte goes down with his Achilles. Then, you relying on Trey Murphy and CJ. Brandon Ingram's been out too with injury. This has been a disaster season for the New Orleans Pelicans. This team looked like they was poised to be a top 6 team in the Western Conference if they stay healthy. But it's always if they stay healthy in the back of your mind because they just been having like a curse on this organization ever since they got AD and Chris Paul. They have never been able to stay healthy enough to make a deep run, which is unfortunate. But they still have been going out there making big moves, like getting DeJounte to show that they're still committed to winning. They're 6-21 in their conference, 1-8 in the division, 4-19 away from home, 8-18 at home. They're 12-37 on the season. And then the last team is the Utah Jazz. They're 11-36. They're 4-17 at home, 7-19 away from home, 1-7 in the division, 3-28 in the conference, which is terrible. And they won 1 game in their last 10. They're also 2-8. So they're still winning. They're still not as bad as the Wizards. I mean, they're close to it, but not that bad. I guess you will take that considering that you're not one of the worst teams in NBA history and you're not losing enough to be on bad losing streaks as much as other teams this year. But man, the Jazz have been bad to this year. But Colin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen, they still allow the team to be watchable sometimes. Same with Walker Kessler. Jordan Clarkson just came back and he's been adding a little bit more flair to them. And I have liked that, watching this team as I try to watch every game in the season so I can give y'all the proper analysis off the top of the dome like I did today in the rookie analysis and in the instant analysis and in the rookie analysis that I put out today too. So I'm giving y'all what I know. I'm giving y'all what I see. I'm giving you facts and stats to prove my points. And I'm just telling y'all how it is at the same time, keeping it real with y'all. Other than that, thanks for putting analysis in y'all day. Thanks for continuing to support the channel. Thanks for appreciating the content for what it is and enjoying it too. Other than that, see y'all guys later with more analysis. Got 5 videos to do because it's 5 games. Take a break. Be right back in the studio chopping up more classics for y'all to love and enjoy and cherish. And if you're new to the channel, I make conversation videos just like this in different variety. Also make breakdowns of legends, current legends, future stars, and rookies with real footage too on this channel. I also do draft and mock draft coverage. And if you're still not sold, I have over 3,000 plus videos already on the channel that you can watch and you can enjoy, and it's NBA only content. So if you're one of those type of people, this may be the perfect channel and it was meant for you to find out about it. Other than that, love y'all. Continue to grind. Be back at the weekend. It's already going quick. It's already going fast. I'm in the studio 7 days a week, basically, and I'm just having fun telling you my analysis on as many things as I can. And I got more breakdowns coming, more content coming, different type of variety to mix things up to keep things fun and exciting and to keep y'all hearing something fresh and new each and every time I do a video. And I'm trying my hardest. I've been doing this for 10 plus years. I'm a pioneer for basketball only channels on YouTube, and I'm still going at it 10 plus years plus. Let's keep it going. Let's make 2025 better than 2015, and I think we off to a good start. That was a big year for me, and a lot of my fans came because of that. I was doing things that you didn't really see on YouTube until now, and I'm still one of the ones that still do it like you're supposed to do it the best way. So no rush, no fast, just giving y'all facts and giving y'all evidence and proof to make these videos legit. Other than that, I'm gone for now. See you guys later today, hopefully.